A stranger walks and the soft chime of the store's entrance bell barely caught the attention of the sales associate. It was just another slow afternoon at Valmont Timepieces, an elite boutique nestled in the heart of Beverly Hills, catering exclusively to the ultra-wealthy. The store gleamed with opulence. Crystal display cases held watches worth more than a sports car, their golden faces reflecting the soft glow of design. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and if you like similar stories, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with new videos. Designer chandeliers. Every customer who walked in was either a tech mogul, an A-list celebrity, or someone looking to flaunt their limitless wealth. And then he walked in. At first glance, he didn't belong. His dark jeans were slightly worn, his boots scuffed from use. He carried a simple backpack slung over one shoulder, his hair tousled and his beard unkempt. There was no entourage, no designer suit, no obvious air of wealth. The young sales associate, Evan, barely lifted his head from his phone. He had spent months perfecting his ability to spot the real clients, the ones who could drop six figures without blinking. And from where he stood, this guy was definitely not one of them. Keanu Reeves took a slow, thoughtful step forward, his eyes scanning the displays. His fingers lightly traced the edge of the glass, admiring the craftsmanship. There was an air of quiet purpose in his movement, something almost reverent. Evan sighed, putting on his most polite yet dismissive smile. "Can I help you, sir?" he asked, the slightest edge of impatience in his tone. Keanu turned to him, his face kind but reserved. "Yeah, I'm looking for a watch." Evan resisted the urge to smirk. "Obviously. I'm sorry, but we operate by appointment only," he said smoothly, gesturing toward the door. "We cater to a very exclusive clientele." There was a pause. A flicker of something unreadable passed over Keanu's face. Was it disappointment? Amusement? It was gone in a second. "Oh," he said simply. He nodded, offering a small, understanding smile. "No problem." And with that, he turned and walked out the door. The weight of a mistake, Evan exhaled, relieved to have avoided wasting his time. He turned back to his phone, barely registering the footsteps of his manager emerging from the back room. "Who just left?" the older man asked casually. "Some guy." Evan shrugged. "Didn't have an appointment." The manager's expression darkened. "What did he look like?" Evan blinked. "I don't know. Kind of scruffy. Had a backpack." "Why?" The color drained from the manager's face. He hurried toward the door, his head swiveling frantically as he searched the street. "Evan," he said slowly, voice tight, "please tell me you did not just kick out Keanu Reeves." Evan's stomach plummeted. His hands went clammy as his mind raced through the last few minutes, replaying every detail. The soft-spoken demeanor, the kind smile, the unmistakable deep voice, the face. "Oh my God," he whispered. He had just turned away one of the most beloved actors in the world. And worse, he had just lost a sale worth more than his entire yearly salary. Panic sets in. Evan practically tripped over his own feet as he bolted toward the glass door, flinging it open so hard that the security guards stationed outside flinched. "Where is he? Did you see which way he went?" Evan asked desperately, his heart pounding. The security guard, a burly man with sunglasses and a no-nonsense demeanor, gave him a blank look. "Who?" "Keanu Reeves," Evan nearly shouted, scanning the street. But the sidewalk was already crowded with afternoon shoppers, a steady stream of cars honking and rolling past. The guard's eyebrows shot up over his sunglasses. "Keanu Reeves was here? And you kicked him out?" Evan didn't answer. His gaze darted left, then right. He knew celebrities weren't easy to track down, especially someone as private as Keanu. If he was already gone, there was little chance of fixing this. He felt his manager's heavy hand clamp down on his shoulder. "You better pray he didn't go to Magnate Timepieces down the street," his boss said, his voice low with warning. "Because if he did, they just made the easiest sale of their lives, and we look like absolute idiots." Evan's breath caught. He knew Magnate. It was their biggest rival, a high-end boutique that carried many of the same brands but prided itself on exceptional customer service. While Valmont was known for exclusivity, Magnate was known for making anyone feel like a VIP. If Keanu had walked in there, The reality of his mistake sank in. This wasn't just about a sale. This was about reputation. And if word got out that Valmont timepieces had turned away Keanu Reeves because of how he looked, the internet would eat them alive. The weight of a mistake, Evan felt a cold sweat forming at the back of his neck. His heart pounded in his chest as he stared at his manager, whose face had gone completely pale. Keanu Reeves? Evan stammered, barely able to process what he had just done. Yes, Keanu freaking Reeves, the manager hissed, rubbing his temples as if trying to ease a sudden migraine. You just turned away one of the biggest actors in the world. Evan felt his stomach twist into knots. Just minutes ago, he had dismissed the quiet, unassuming man who had walked into Valmont timepieces, judging him purely by his appearance. Now, that same man, Keanu Reeves, an international superstar, was gone. Evan's eyes darted toward the glass doors, searching the busy Beverly Hills sidewalk for any sign of him. He practically shoved past the security guard and ran onto the street. The problem? Keanu was nowhere to be seen. The city was alive with its usual energy. Shoppers moving in and out of designer boutiques, luxury cars cruising down Rodeo Drive, the afternoon sun casting long shadows on the pavement. But there was no sign of the man he had just so carelessly dismissed. Evan turned back toward the store, his chest rising and falling rapidly. His manager had stepped outside as well, looking around in every direction. "You'd better find him," the older man said, his voice tight with frustration. And fast. Chasing a ghost, Evan bolted down the sidewalk, weaving through pedestrians as he desperately searched for Keanu. He cursed himself under his breath. How could I be so stupid? He wasn't a bad employee. At least, he hadn't thought so before today. But his obsession with filtering customers based on appearance had just cost him the biggest sale, and possibly the worst PR disaster Valmont had ever faced. Just then, he spotted a small group of young women huddled together on the corner, their faces lit up with excitement. One of them held up her phone, snapping a photo of something, or someone, down the street. Evan's heart leaped. He followed their gaze, and there, several storefronts away, was Keanu Reeves. He wasn't rushing or looking around in frustration. In fact, he seemed completely unfazed, strolling at a relaxed pace down the sidewalk. But Evan's heart nearly stopped when he saw where Keanu was headed, right into Magnate Timepieces. A different kind of welcome. As soon as Keanu stepped into Magnate Timepieces, the atmosphere was completely different. The boutique was just as luxurious as Valmont, with its polished glass display cases and golden lighting. But the staff's attitude was strikingly opposite. A friendly-looking salesman in his mid-40s, dressed in an elegant navy blue suit, approached immediately. His name tag read Richard. "Welcome, sir," Richard said, smiling warmly. "Is there anything I can help you with today?" Keanu took a quick glance around the store, then turned to Richard with a polite nod. "Yeah, I was hoping to find a watch," he said simply. "Absolutely," Richard said, already motioning toward a display case. "We have a fantastic selection. Are you looking for something classic? Modern? A specific brand?" Keanu took a step forward, placing his hands on the glass. His expression was calm, but there was something else there, too, something almost amused. He had just been brushed off by one boutique, only to be treated like royalty in another. Keanu wasn't the type to hold grudges, but this moment, he wouldn't forget it. The desperate apology. Evan reached Magnate Timepieces just in time to see Keanu inside, speaking with the salesman. His throat went dry. There was no way he could just walk in and demand Keanu come back to Valmont. He needed a different approach. Taking a deep breath, Evan smoothed down his suit, straightened his tie, and stepped through the doors. A bell chimed softly as he entered, but no one turned to acknowledge him. Keanu was too focused on the watches, and the Magnate staff had no reason to care about a competing boutique's employee. Evan hesitated, then approached cautiously. "Mr. Reeves," he started, his voice shaky. Keanu turned, his gaze meeting Evan's with a calm curiosity. For a moment, Evan felt like a fool. Keanu didn't look angry or annoyed. He didn't look like a man who had just been disrespected. He just was. Unbothered. Relaxed. Evan swallowed hard. "I just wanted to apologize," he stammered. "I didn't realize who you were. I should have never." Keanu raised a hand gently, cutting him off. "It's okay," Keanu said, his voice as calm as ever. Evan blinked. "Really?" he asked, stunned by the actor's lack of bitterness. Keanu offered him a small smile. "Yeah, it happens." Evan exhaled, relief washing over him. But then Keanu's gaze shifted ever so slightly, just enough to make a point. "But you know," he added, "you don't have to recognize someone to treat them with respect." Evan felt like he had just been hit by a truck. Keanu wasn't upset that he hadn't been recognized. He was disappointed that it took recognizing him for Evan to regret his actions. Evan lowered his head, his face burning with shame. "You're right," he admitted. "I was wrong." Keanu nodded, as if he already knew Evan had learned his lesson. Then, without another word, he turned back to the display case. Evan stood there for a few more seconds before realizing that his presence wasn't needed anymore. The moment was over. He had made a mistake, one he would never forget, and now he had to live with it. A watch that tells more than time. Keanu spent the next 20 minutes inside Magnate, carefully choosing the perfect timepiece. He finally settled on a platinum Patek Philippe Grand Complications, a stunning, handcrafted watch worth over $100,000. Richard, the salesman, carefully placed it inside an elegant leather case and handed it over with a wide grin. "Excellent choice, Mr. Reeves," he said. Keanu smiled, pulling out his credit card. As the transaction processed, Richard hesitated, then finally asked, "I have to ask, did you go to Valmont first?" Keanu chuckled softly. "Yeah." Richard raised an eyebrow. "And?" Keanu simply shrugged, amusement flickering in his eyes. "They didn't have what I was looking for." Richard smirked. He had a feeling there was more to that story, but he wasn't about to push. Instead, he just shook Keanu's hand and wished him a great day. As Keanu stepped back out onto the busy sidewalk, the watch store employee at Valmont stood frozen in his own boutique, staring through the glass with an expression of pure regret. It was too late now. The sale was lost. The reputation damage was done. And Keanu? He simply walked off into the afternoon sun, his brand new timepiece glinting in the light. Because in the end, it was never about the watch. It was about the lesson. A reputation destroyed. The fallout began faster than anyone expected. By the next morning, Valmont timepieces was all over the internet, and for all the wrong reasons. The first sign of trouble came from a single tweet. "My friend works at a luxury watch store in Beverly Hills. Guess what? They kicked out Keanu Reeves because they thought he looked too scruffy to afford a watch. He went next door and dropped $100,000 at their competitor instead." Karma. That tweet exploded. Within hours, it had hundreds of thousands of likes and retweets. Instagram accounts that specialized in celebrity gossip picked it up. Then entertainment sites like TMZ and Insider got a hold of it. Soon, the headlines were everywhere. Loudspeaker, luxury watch store snubs Keanu Reeves, and instantly regrets it. Loudspeaker, the billionaire they shouldn't have judged. Keanu's humble act leaves store red-faced. Loudspeaker, Keanu Reeves proves why he's the classiest man in Hollywood again. The comments were brutal. Speech balloon, how do you work in Beverly Hills and not recognize Keanu Reeves? Speech balloon, forget that it's Keanu. How about just treating everyone with respect? Speech balloon, one store treated him like a human. The other treated him like dirt. Guess which one got his money? And then came the worst part, the Google reviews. Within 24 hours, Valmont timepieces went from a 5-star rating to barely 3 stars. Review after review trashed them. Even people who had never stepped foot in the store left 1-star reviews. "White medium star, would love to shop here, but apparently I need to be wearing a tux just to be let in." White medium star, imagine kicking out the nicest guy in Hollywood. Embarrassing. White medium star, Keanu should buy their whole company just to fire them. It wasn't just bad PR, it was a business nightmare. Because while the internet moved on to new gossip, Valmont timepieces had to live with the damage. Keanu's quiet response, as expected. Keanu never made a big deal out of it. No interviews. No angry social media posts. No public callouts. When a reporter tried to ask him about it outside an airport, Keanu just laughed and shrugged. "Ah, it's no big deal," he said. But he did say one thing. Just 6 simple words that made the world love him even more. Just be nice. It's not hard. That was it. No drama. No revenge. Just grace and humility. And yet, those words stung harder than any internet backlash ever could. A lesson too late. Back inside Valmont, the atmosphere was tense. The manager had spent the entire morning fielding angry calls from corporate, trying to contain the PR disaster. But there was nothing to contain. The damage was already done. Evan, the sales associate, sat stiffly in the back office. He had barely slept. He had spent half the night reading the comments, each one making him feel smaller and smaller. But the worst part? It wasn't the humiliation. It wasn't even the lost sale. It was the fact that he hadn't even realized his mistake until it was too late. If it had been any other man, he wouldn't have cared. If it had been just a regular guy, he would have done the same exact thing. Brushed him off, turned him away, dismissed him. But why? Because he assumed. Because he judged based on looks. Because he thought that wealth meant suits and Rolexes, not worn jeans and a backpack. And the worst part? Keanu didn't care. Keanu wasn't mad. Keanu was just disappointed. And somehow, that made it so much worse. The real price of judging others. A month later, Valmont Timepieces was still struggling. Corporate restructured the store. Evan was let go. The manager resigned. They tried to win back customers, offering discounts and apologizing. But their reputation was tarnished. Meanwhile, Magnate Timepieces? Business boomed. They gained new high-profile clients, all because of one simple truth. They had treated Keanu Reeves like a person, not a transaction. But the moral of the story isn't just about a lost sale. It's bigger than that. It's about judging people based on appearances. It's about assuming worth based on how someone looks. Because every single day, there are people who get treated just like Keanu was. But they don't have millions of fans to set the record straight. They're just ordinary people, walking into stores, restaurants, job interviews, and getting dismissed. Because of their clothes. Because of their accent. Because of where they came from. This wasn't about Keanu Reeves. This was about how we see people. And maybe that's the real lesson. Because in the end, you never really know who's walking through your door. What do you think? Have you ever been judged unfairly based on your appearance? Or have you ever misjudged someone yourself? Let's talk in the comments.